Welcome to a brand new episode of the Jampack Report today for November the 18th of 2019. Of course, my name is Samuel Adams, and this is a daily gaming news podcast meant to bring you the hottest gaming news from around the industry 5 days a week, Monday through Friday. If you enjoy the show, you like what you see, subscribe on YouTube or a podcast platform of your choosing. And of course, if you want a written rundown, you can always find that on medium.com/JampackReport. That also includes links to every article I discuss and the show itself. But with that being said, we had tons of news that broke over the weekend. We have talked about Anthem being rebuilt from the ground up. We have Modern Warfare potentially getting a 200-player Battle Royale mode. Google Stadia has, on the 11th hour, doubled its amount of launch games, or at least nearly doubled, now up to 22, which is a pretty impressive feat. On top of that, Valve could be releasing a big Half-Life VR game in the next few months. A PS5 Controller patent has come out. Microsoft not worried about PlayStation 5, according to Aaron Greenberg. And finally, Game Pass did not stop Gears 5 from being a pretty big success. And that's the lineup for today's show. But of course, without further ado, let's go ahead and dive into it. First off, sources say BioWare plans a complete overhaul for Anthem. Recent silence and a couple of high-profile departures from BioWare have led fans and pundits to speculate that the studio has abandoned its most recent game, Anthem, but the opposite is true. For the last few months, BioWare and parent company EA have been planning an overhaul of the online shooter, according to 3 people familiar with those plans. Some call it Anthem 2.0 or Anthem Next. Many of the details are still in flux, and there is no clear timeline for the Anthem Next project just yet. In fact, from what Jason Schreier has heard, the developers at BioWare have not even decided how it will be distributed. They are still figuring out whether updates should be released all at once or over an extended period of time. Anthem could be overhauled through a series of updates, a la No Man's Sky. It could get a game-changing expansion like Destiny's critically acclaimed Taken King. Most of Anthem's biggest systems, its mission structure, its loot, its world, will change drastically, but the developers have not yet figured out exactly what that will look like. They are even considering releasing Anthem Next as a brand new game, although those who work on the project said that could take a lot of forms, and it is unlikely that they'll charge full price to Anthem players. The one thing that is for sure is that BioWare has not abandoned Anthem, despite recent breathless declarations that the game is dead. Right now, dozens, if not hundreds, of developers at both of BioWare's offices in Austin, Texas and Edmonton, Canada, are working on plans to overhaul the game. We spent a few months just tearing it down and figuring out what needed to change fundamentally. A lot, one person said, that works on the project, and we've been rebuilding for another few months since. A rep for EA declined to comment on this story. Anthem, which launched in February 2019, was a big change for BioWare. The studio made its name on heavy role-playing games like Dragon Age and Mass Effect, so fans were surprised when they saw BioWare trying to take on the likes of Destiny with an online shooter. Thanks to a messy development process plagued with technical issues, vision struggles, and many other stresses, the game flopped. It was buggy, tedious, and lacked long-term appeal of its competitors. And of course, Jason's article continues to go on through the history of what has happened with Anthem and of course what BioWare is working on as well. I would encourage you to read the entire article. But this is something that I think is pretty interesting. There's a lot to dive into here. But I think the big takeaway is that Electronic Arts and BioWare are dedicated to Anthem for better or for worse, and I think this does kind of shine a light on why high-profile people have been leaving the company, because if you have been defeated by a project emotionally, which is what many people have probably felt from Anthem, then you probably don't want to go through the process of rebuilding it from the ground up. And of course, whenever you rebuild a game from the ground up to the point that you actually consider making it a second game, that's when you know you have a lot of work that has yet to prove itself. You know, when it comes to Destiny 2, of course, Destiny was a very successful game. When its sequel came out and it didn't do so well, at least there was promise of the game improving. And so the team behind the scenes at Bungie had something to look forward to. With Anthem, this is a brand new IP, and so not too many people are confident in the fact that Anthem can make a comeback. Of course, the same could have been said for No Man's Sky. We see where the game is now. It made a huge comeback, so it's not impossible. But I will say, if they do accomplish what they want to accomplish here, if they do make Anthem into the game that it was always meant to be, there is a very large install base. Up until October, it was the top I think the fifth best-selling game of the year. It was in the top 5, and it just, bumped down to the top 6, I believe, which could see some changes over the next few months with the games that have come out now. But regardless, Anthem was one of the top-selling games of the year. There is a very large install base that still has this game. On top of that, Black Friday, Anthem is going to be one of the cheapest games you can get. I've seen GameStop having it on the front page of one of their ads, if not the Black Friday ad, and of course, it will be given away in abundance. So at the end of the day, there are tons of people that have this game. There are tons of people that want a game like Anthem was supposed to be. And so if you connect those two dots, you make something happen, you could actually be seeing a pretty big comeback for the team at BioWare in terms of Anthem's success. Now, again, that's all speculation. That's all just a hypothesis right now. But it looks like BioWare is not quite finished with Anthem yet. However, moving on, I'm not quite finished with Call of Duty Modern Warfare, and it looks like I won't be anytime soon because a brand new leak suggests a new Battle Royale mode is coming and tons of details have been found. A ton of details for what appears to be a new Battle Royale mode in Call of Duty Modern Warfare have leaked thanks to a data miner from the COD subreddit, and if you were a fan of Black Ops 4's Black Ops mode, you have a lot to look forward to. Originally posted by Reddit user Cine Scalo and reported by Eurogamer, the leak/data mine details a slew of new features, including a massive new map and an increased player count, and according to the leak, it's due out in early 2020. Here is a supposed image of the new map, and there you have it. It's a pretty big map. Notably, the map seems to contain both massive ground war maps and the similarly large Spec Ops mode map within its boundaries. This new Battle Royale mode will reportedly allow up to 200 players, 100 more than Black Ops 4's Black Ops mode, to duke it out in the usual solos, duos, or squads variations. The Battle Royale mode will also apparently have a new feature called Gulag, where eliminated players will have a chance to battle 1v1 with the victor getting to respawn. Occasionally, there is some sort of jailbreak that allows all imprisoned players to respawn. Players get to watch each 1v1 match while the timer counts down to their turn, with players able to place bets on other competitors to earn something called plunder. This new plunder system allows you to earn points by eliminating enemies and achieving mission goals. Once you get some plunder, you can convert it into experience points at ATMs located around the map. The players with the most plunder at the end of the match gets recognized for their efforts, and if you wander into a bank to deposit your plunder, an alarm goes off and alerts nearby players. Also worth noting, while Blackout had missions that players could complete, they mostly involved surviving to a certain player count. Modern Warfare's Battle Royale missions are a bit more involved and will apparently have you hunting down specific players, collecting scavenger crates, capturing a domination point, or other options. Outside of the Gulag, respawning has also been retooled. You can loot a respawn token, but you only ever get to respawn once. You can revive a teammate by dropping their body off at an ambulance with a respawn token, where they'll be taken to the Gulag for their chance to come back. At some point in the game, the Gulag closes and players can't respawn at all. So far, none of this information has been confirmed by Activision or any Call of Duty team, and it's unclear if it will be a free mode or will require a DLC purchase. Are you sure about that, IGN? Because they said that there would not be any paid DLC. If you're a Modern Warfare player, does a new Battle Royale mode sound interesting to you? They ask. Oh boy, does it. This sounds very cool. And I will say that whenever I heard there was a Battle Royale mode leaked, I thought, oh, here we go. You know, it's going to be the same kind of Battle Royale mode that we've always seen. And to some degree, yes, it is. But also, it looks like they're switching this up just enough to where this is something kind of entirely new. We've never had a respawn system outside of just dropping somebody off at a point and having them respawn back into the game. To have some kind of 1v1 competition sounds very interesting, fighting for your chance to get back into the fray. And on top of that, this plunder system, this loot system, this all sounds like something that could definitely make the overall Battle Royale experience way more engaging in the long run. And of course, I love the idea of marrying the two ground war maps and adding in the Spec Ops map. That sounds like a very good time to me. And of course, you've got a variety of terrain here. You have the wintry mountains over here. You've got the little pit, which is the map that I've played the most on. And then you have the other newer ground war map over on this side to the right. But very excited to see what comes of this. Of course, data leaks or data mining tend to be much more accurate than just leaks themselves. So if I had to guess, this seems like something that is going to be coming in early 2020. Of course, Modern Warfare is pretty much what I have been playing exclusively. I have not had time to dive into anything in a big way, and so to be able to sit down and play a couple of rounds of whatever at night seems to be the go-to for me, and I am a big fan of this year's Call of Duty, and I could be a bigger fan of their Battle Royale mode. However, moving on, Google Stadia has nearly doubled the launch lineup to 22 games on the eve of the debut. Google's Stadia cloud gaming service is just 2 days away from launch, a launch that's taken some serious criticism, including from the guys at The Verge, because the company keeps revealing that most of the service's promised features and games won't be ready. But now Google has given its early adopters a welcome surprise for a change. 22 games will be ready to play on day one, nearly double the number that Google said would be available as of last week. Some of these titles were not slated to arrive until 2020 by Google's last estimate, but Stadia boss Phil Harrison replied to one of my tweets with this explanation, saying, and I quote, "Yes, we were perhaps a little conservative in our forecast last week, and most importantly, our partners did an awesome job getting last few kinks ironed out and through testing. Here is the revised launch list of titles the company just shared on Sunday evening, with the newly added ones in bold. Of course, we'll just do the entire rundown of the originals, which included Assassin's Creed Odyssey, Destiny 2 The Collection, Guilt, Just Dance 2020, Kine, Mortal Kombat 11, Rise of the Tomb Raider, Red Dead Redemption 2, Samurai Showdown, Shadow of the Tomb Raider, Thumper, and Tomb Raider 2013. Now, the new additions include Attack on Titan Final Battle 2, Farming Simulator 2019, Final Fantasy 15, Football Manager 2020, Grid 2019, Metro Exodus, NBA 2K20, Rage 2, Trials Rising, and Wolfenstein Young Blood. In addition, Tom Clancy's Ghost Recon Breakpoint, a title that was previously slated for 2020, will now arrive by the end of 2019 instead. And Doom Eternal, Watch Dogs Legion, Gods and Monsters, and Cyberpunk 2077 are now officially confirmed for Stadia release in 2020. Okay, so we are improving a lot here. Of course, I criticized the lineup last week, and on top of that, I got the release date wrong. On an episode last week, I said it was coming out the 14th. No, coming out the 19th. But now, we have an additional 10 games coming out, and I think these are some pretty impressive additions. Of course, the big name on the list, in my opinion, is without a doubt NBA 2K 2020, because that definitely brings some players in. But Metro Exodus, another big game. Rage 2, another big addition. Wolfenstein Youngblood, a big name. Not necessarily the best game, but still a notable one on the list. There is now more reason to jump in on day one than there was before. That's pretty much what I can say. Now, the big question here is, how steady are these games? How sturdy are they? How ready for release are they? Because I kind of agree with Kotaku's article, which said Google panics, adds 10 games to the Stadia launch lineup. It seems like this is kind of a reactionary approach to how people are receiving Google Stadia. Not too many people are excited about this, and the meager launch lineup didn't improve the status overall. So for them to be able to say, hey, we've got 22 games now, and they're all much more impressive as compared to before, well, that's a pretty good, addition. But at the same time, were they rushed through testing? Have these been thoroughly checked to make sure they are all in a fully functioning kind of way? That's the big question on my book. But overall, really impressive launch list. And so, of course, Stadia launches tomorrow for those that are early adopters, and it is going to be rolling out in various tiers throughout the course of the next year or so. But excited to see just how this one does. Again, I'm hoping for the best, expecting the worst when it comes to Google Stadia. However, Valve is about to announce a VR game called Half-Life Alyx, if a rumor/leak is to be believed. The original story is as follows. This November 19th? Okay, that's a strange way to say that. This November the 19th will mark the 21st anniversary of the release of the original Half-Life, according to the rumor. It will also be when Valve announces a flagship virtual reality game called Half-Life Alyx. Valve are rarely interested in celebrating their own game's anniversaries, so take this rumor with a mouthful of salt. The source is apparently the same leaker responsible for the Dota Underlords leak, and is quoting from an interview between Jeff Keighley and Robin Walker, co-developer of Team Fortress 2, among other games, and of course, an unnamed third person. March 2020, Half-Life Alyx coming out, says Jeff in the transcript. Responding to the question of whether this game would be available for players without VR headsets, I mean, we would love to be delivering a version of this that you could play with a mouse and keyboard, but like as we said, it began as an exploration of VR, an unnamed person replies. As for how this entirely hypothetical game would play, the only clue is this statement. You can see their whole body respond to the situation. Panicking, dropping clips on the ground as they fumble their weapons, cause a zombie's in front of them. All these things, it's been really fun watching playtest. Valve have said they'll be releasing a flagship VR game this year, and of course, the author, JD McGregor, has reached out to Valve, but they have not replied with a comment. Now, an update to this story has said that a new transcript of the leaked interview has said Half-Life Alyx will be shown at the Game Awards on December the 12th, so you could be seeing this next month. This makes perfect sense in my book, because Half-Life is a massive name in the gaming industry, even in 2019. And so to be able to say, hey, we've got a flagship VR game, it is a brand new Half-Life game, then everybody says Half-Life 3 confirmed? No, just as VR spinoff. But this is a very good way to go about doing this, and of course, minimal details as of right now, but I did want to let you guys know that a VR Valve game is coming, and it looks like it's Half-Life Alyx. And so stay tuned to the Game Awards on December the 12th to know more about what exactly is going to be coming down the pipe. But it looks like we got our first look at the PS5 Controller. The PlayStation 5 Controller has been shown in patent images. A Sony Interactive Entertainment patent has revealed images of what could be the PlayStation 5's controller. The images, which were published on the Japanese Patent Office website today, are attributed to the PlayStation manufacturer and match a description of the PS5's prototype pad in a Wired article, in which Sony's next-gen controller is described as, quote, an awful lot like the PS4's DualShock 4. The patent specifically highlights a microphone, but comparison images posted online show there are many subtle design changes between the picture controller and the DualShock 4. The controller pictured in the patent features larger triggers, slightly smaller sticks, a USB port, and no light bar. The prototype PS5 controller currently being sent to developers is described as an unlabeled matte black doohickey. Okay, that looks very similar to the PlayStation 4's DualShock 4, but Sony has confirmed some significant additions. One major improvement added to the PS5's controller is adaptive triggers, which SIE says can offer varying levels of resistance to make game mechanics such as bow shooting and arrows. Such as shooting and shooting bows and arrows. There we go. The tension increasing as you pull the arrow back feel more realistic. The PS5 controller, which will switch to USB-C for charging, also includes haptic feedback, which, of course, has highly programmable voice coil actuators located in left and right grips of the pad. Combined with an improved speaker on the controller, the haptics can enable astonishing effects, according to the Wired article. And of course, there is your image up close and personal of the DualShock 4 patent. Now, VGC has also actually made a mock-up of what you can expect from the DualShock 5, if this is to be believed. And it looks like, again, very similar to the DualShock 4, but at the same time, it does look to be a bit girthier. It looks to have more of an Xbox shape, specifically around the thumbsticks and, of course, around the grip. It looks like a bigger controller overall, supposedly to, account for all that extra hardware they have got in there. Of course, the weight of it is still lighter than the Xbox One controller with batteries inside, but is also heavier than the DualShock 4. And so it looks like this is also elevated. The touchpad seems to be raised a bit. Again, this is not the definitive final variation. This is just a mock-up of what you can expect from looking at the images as shown in the article. Of course, in a series of short demos, the publication described in October, a character ran through the platform level featuring a number of different surfaces, which Wired said gave distinct and tactile experiences. Sand felt slow and sloggy, mud felt slow and soggy. On ice, a high-frequency response made the thumbsticks feel really like my character was gliding. Jumping into a pool, I got a sense of the resistance of the water. On a wooden bridge, a bouncy sensation. Next, a version of Gran Turismo Sport ported over to a PS5 dev kit enabled the player to feel the difference between dirt and track surfaces, and so that's the kind of thing you can expect from the DualShock 5, if it is to be believed. Of course, the name has not been confirmed, but you can pretty much, you can make some assumptions here. But there's your side-by-side. Again, it looks like this one's a bit girthier, the thumbstick's a bit smaller, but overall, a very, very similar design nonetheless. And I will say, I'm excited, to say the least. I am a big fan of any kind of build-up. I love the anticipation of a brand new gaming console. And of course, the PlayStation 5 definitely has some big shoes to fill with the PlayStation 4 being as successful as it is, but exciting to see nonetheless. So if you wondered what the PlayStation 5's controller would look like, it's going to be something along these lines. Looks kind of expensive to me. Oh boy, here we go. But Microsoft is not worried about the PlayStation 5, according to Aaron Greenberg. This year is coming to a close, but as soon as 2020 hits, it will be a race to see which console manufacturer can gain the most favor for the next generation. Obviously, given the massive success of the PlayStation 4, it's likely that Sony will have a strong lead with the PlayStation 5. The console is rumored to be revealed at a PlayStation meeting taking place in February 2020. That does not mean Microsoft is staying quiet, though. The company officially announced Project Scarlet first and recently announced a number of new IPs like Rare's Everwild and Obsidian's Grounded, not to mention a slew of major additions for Xbox Game Pass. Does the company feel worried about any aspect of the PS5 so far? Aaron Greenberg, who is general manager for games marketing at Xbox, responded to a recent Kotaku Q&A with, "Not really. We're more customer obsessed than competitor obsessed. I think Sony has built a great business. They have a very strong brand and a strong presence, and we have a lot of admiration for what they've done. Equally, we feel proud of the fact that we've built the world's most powerful console, and I think we've grown now our internal studios, so we have one of the largest, if not the largest, internal studio teams, and we're going to continue to innovate with things like Project xCloud. We will innovate with different varieties of games. You'll see us grow our partnerships with Japanese developers and Japanese creators with things like the Yakuza series, things like more Final Fantasy games on Xbox Game Pass, the entire Kingdom Hearts series on Xbox. These are all from us listening to fans and dedicating time to fulfill these projects. Other factors like third-party deals, first-party exclusives, additional services, hardware, marketing, and of course pricing will also decide which console holds sway in the holiday 2020 season. Nevertheless, it is good to see that Microsoft is not on the back foot like in pre-launch Xbox One days and is making moves to appeal to its core audience. We will see how Sony caters to its fans in kind within the coming months. And we have no worries from Aaron Greenberg about the PlayStation 5. I believe this is probably something they are confident in. This statement is probably pretty accurate because I think that Microsoft truly is kind of nose to the grindstone. Don't focus on the competition, focus on what you can bring to the table, and they're bringing a lot to the table. Of course, as they mentioned, the Xbox One X is already the world's most powerful console, and with Game Pass, it is a fantastic way to play. I mean, truly, there is a lot of value to get into the Xbox ecosystem now. I've said it time and time again, if you are just somebody who wants to break into the gaming industry for the first time and just try out gaming, on Black Friday, you can get an Xbox One S for $150, and then you can try out Xbox Game Pass Ultimate for, I think it's $3 for 3 months, something insane like that. And you literally have, for $153 and some change with tax, you are in. You have the entire gaming industry at your disposal. Some massive AAA games. You have the ability to play any new game on the market right now that is, of course, available on the Xbox. It's a very impressive way to just dip your toe in. And on top of that, it is incredibly accessible and overall relatively affordable. But with the PlayStation 5 being in the lead, obviously when it comes to the fact that the PlayStation 4 has such a large fan base, it certainly is going to be an interesting 2020 to say the least, but I'm excited to see what's going on. Right now, I'm very much more excited about the Project Scarlet than I am about the PlayStation 5, and traditionally, the incumbent leader doesn't tend to do as well as the underdog when it comes to a new console generation. So we'll have to see if that trend continues for 2020 with the PlayStation 5 and Project Scarlet, but without a doubt, very excited to see what comes in around holiday 2020. Just 1 year away, let's go. However, to round out today's show, Xbox Game Pass did not stop Gears 5 from outselling Gears of War 4. Phil Spencer says, "I'm not trying to funnel everybody who wants to play Gears into the subscription." A good statement. Gears 5's inclusion on the Xbox Game Pass service did not stop it from outselling Gears of War 4, said Microsoft Executive Vice President of Gaming Phil Spencer at the X019 event this week. In a wide-ranging interview with Eurogamer, Spencer said that Gears 5 sold well for us. It sold better than Gears 4, and we feel good about it. Specifically, Spencer indicated that having the title available at launch on both Game Pass and standalone did not detract from Microsoft's view of the title's success. It's a notable data point for those who want games to stay available as standalone releases rather than be pushed into exclusive subscription service models, showing that the demand for standalone is very much there. Spencer went on to specify that the Game Pass business model has also been successful. "I think there is some confusion out there whether Game Pass works. Game Pass works as a business model." Spencer also made an interesting comparison of the debate over subscription versus standalone to crossplay, allowing players to play together across different platforms, saying that it's something gamers need to make known that they want. He was quick, however, to diffuse the kind of concerns some have expressed over services like Google Stadia. "I'm not trying to funnel everybody who wants to play Gears into the subscription," Spencer said. "It's about giving gamers choice," and of course, that is courtesy of Eurogamer. Now, I love this interview so much because I'm somebody who has adopted Xbox Game Pass, and I'm somebody who is on board with subscription services. I feel like I would rather pay $15 a month and get access to a variety of games than necessarily drop $60 a month and get access to one game. That's assuming you buy one game per month, which I don't. But that is the kind of approach that I take. There's a lot of value to be found in having some kind of subscription service. And so to see that Gears 5 still outsold Gears of War 4, despite having the Xbox Game Pass compatibility, that's something that I believe definitely speaks volumes, because it shows heavy adoption of Game Pass, which of course Gears 5 was a massive part of, but it also shows that people are playing traditionally on Xbox. People are ready to buy games, and I think that is something that I needed to hear, because I wasn't sure that it would actually outsell Gears 4, because of the fact that I literally I paid, I think, $2 for 3 months or something like that. There was a promotion going on, and I got into, I think it was $2 for 2 months. I got into Xbox Game Pass to play Gears 5, and I played Gears 5, and I was done with it. Haven't gone back to it since. But with that being said, now they've got me in. They've roped me in. I see the value. Now I'm here. Hi, how are you? But with The Outer Worlds, that's another big one. Of course, that one is a multi-platform title, but at the same time, it still sold very well and remains a massive part of Xbox Game Pass. The system works, without a doubt, and it looks like Phil Spencer is very much so knowledgeable of that. But glad to see Gears doing well. Of course, if you haven't played Gears 5, phenomenal game, great story, great gameplay, highly recommend. But that rounds out today's episode of the Jampack Report. If you enjoyed this one, drop me a like down below if you are watching the YouTube video, or subscribe via a podcast service of your choosing. Of course, you can always find the written show on medium.com/JampackReport. But until tomorrow, you guys have a phenomenal rest of your day. I will talk to you soon, and peace.